I'm sure you know that feeling when you rewrite that article. You think 10 times about what exactly you want to say. You hesitate before you say, oh yes, sure, you can interview me. Those are the situations. You can call them imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, not feeling ready, fear of rejection, that so often play against you, that hold you back, and where you only retrospectively realize, oh my God, I could have gotten this opportunity. I've already could have done this, or it would have been so much easier if I only had said that, right? So that's what we want to unpack in this video. So I could sit here and speak all day about, oh, is it you're not feeling prepared enough and you, again, overthinking your presentation or even just what you want to say or rewriting things? Is it only saying half of what you wanted to say and then holding back, or even feeling worried that maybe you even say things but no one will take notice? I mean, these are common ways how self-sabotage, playing small, not speaking up. I'm just using a lot of different terms because they so much always mean the same thing. What I want for this video, though, is not talk about this like forevermore. It can give you some pointers, but what is the key bit to changing that, of course, is to have a deeper level of self-awareness, an awareness of your body and of your subconscious of when this plays out. Because I recently was listening to a very experienced speaker, and he's like, oh, but you grow out of it. Once you've given a couple of presentations or talks, once you recorded a couple of videos, you get over, that fear or the worry, like what others will say or think of you, all these things. And it's true. Of course, practice makes you better at it. But what this person wasn't addressing, and what I find is often not addressed, of course, these things come in layers. So I give you a little story of what I noticed recently for myself, so that hopefully you find something in it that you then can apply to you. I have recorded videos for years on different platforms, or I have written things, I've written posts and newsletters, and I've given interviews, and I've done a lot of things to convince myself, to convince my body-mind system that I can always say something more or less, hopefully, useful. However, I was asking myself, why are you never talking about this? What is the most potent thing you could say? And I was thinking about, there's so many things I feel like I'm not sharing, and I don't just mean personal stories, which can be a thing in itself. I mean of the pure knowledge or experience that I've gathered throughout the work that I do for myself, or learning, studying it, applying it, sharing it with others. And I realized that I think I have been good, or I feel comfortable sharing, let's say, fact-based knowledge or things that are kind of easy to measure or put in a box almost. I always felt like the more I could narrow down something I want to say in something tangible, like the 3 fears that keep you from speaking up and making an impact, like with this video, I was like, yeah, that feels, tangible, and that's relatable, and that's what I want. But then I was thinking, and you might or might not know that about me, depending on if you're new to me or not, but what about all the stuff I'm doing all day long? Transformational work, energy work, watching, my own internal state, all these micro things I'm doing all day long that I almost never talk about. And I'm thinking, isn't that interesting? There's so much. Right now I'm, redoing a certification for channeling. I'm like, does anyone even know that I do that? Do people even know that I consider myself an energy healing person on top of coaching skills? And it's in particular was all this, let's say, less tangible knowledge or tools, or the things that I found are less easy to put in a box. They're more vague almost, and I don't have as much scientific proof. And I'm thinking, I don't really talk about these things that much, even though they make the bulk of my work for myself and what I do with clients. So I'm thinking, isn't that interesting? And so I got curious and I note, and all of a sudden I had this feeling come up where I was like, yeah, I just don't feel as comfortable because it's not a straight fact that I could get out of Google or chat or whatever. And it's kind of, you kind of know what it is. It's again, it fits in a box almost. It's like, okay, it's this little bow on top. It's more like, no, it's this. I don't even just want to say experiential knowledge, even though that is in there, but it feels a lot less tangible. So to give you an example, even that situation. So I was walking somewhere, thinking about partly, what I wanted to speak about in my next video, but just generally I was thinking about how, if there's something I want to shift, how I show up on social media, how to communicate better, more potent in my content, but also so it resonates more with the people I want to reach, and all the things. And all of a sudden I had just this, like as one of my teachers would say, like a light particle, or like something that's swishing through my awareness. I was like, hang on, what was that? And I noticed that there was this super subtle fear of, yeah, but it's not tangible, or it's like, how are you going to talk about these things that are not, clearly defined? And that I possibly have shied away from that often because I feel it's not just less confident, almost there was a judgment around it, as if people wouldn't like it, or they would think it's, weird, like if you can't, put me in a box kind of thing, then who am I kind of thing, like what do I have valuable to say if it's not scientifically proven and backed up, and all these things. I don't know if it wasn't quite that, but that's as close as I can describe it right now, which then made me very curious to be like, okay, so what is it that you're not talking about and that you actually want to talk about? And that's partly how this video evolved, even though there were a lot of other things that also played into how I came up with this particular topic. But it made me really aware that holding back, fear of rejection, not speaking up is really, maybe it sounds obvious to you, but it really comes in layers. And like for me, I know I hold back so often. I don't say what I really want to say, and I often only notice it in hindsight. And yes, it's different for different people. Some people maybe sometimes share too much and then notice in hindsight that they share too much, and others don't. But what I found interesting is that so often I find a lot of content, a lot of tools, content, resources, books, articles, videos, whatever, that are out there make it sound as if, once you overcome like your insecurities, or once you're confident and show up on camera, or once you're happy to study on stage or whatever, you'll be fine. You can talk about whatever. And that's obviously not the case, right? I don't even need to talk about, let's say, actors or someone who are brilliant at their craft, and then the moment they talk about themselves, it feels awkward. That's a whole issue in itself. And then that's because that was the other thing that I was thinking, okay, when I first tried to introduce more personal stories and stuff, that felt uncomfortable because possibly I wasn't yet comfortable sharing so much about me publicly. And I'm still very mindful about what I share. And I don't think I'll ever change that, because I don't think you have to be super open, but something, again, to be relatable, of course. But it wasn't that either. I was like, yeah, but it's not that you are not happy to share stories, and especially stuff that I feel doesn't bother me so much anymore, or I feel like I've worked through it, or something from my past. I mean, I share these things, and people have even said, oh, it's interesting you share that and stuff. But in this one I found so interesting, and so I really hope that even just talking about it, you get what I mean. And I will do a little exercise at the end just to help you connect maybe deeper to your body if you feel like you kind of have it rationally, but not as a felt sense, because you might know that about me. For me, it's always about the felt sense. So my experience, and that a lot of people I talk to and work with, is we know almost, well, not everything, but we know a lot rationally, right? We know everything we have to do, or how to change our thoughts or whatever. But as long as it stays in our head and is not embodied, well, maybe you get 50% of the result, but it certainly isn't the full thing. But to go back to what I was saying, in this case, where it was about me feeling like I'm not actually sharing the things that are really important to me and that makes the biggest difference in my life, was so interesting. Like it was this visceral moment of, yeah, but you're not sharing the thing that really matters. I was like, that interesting. And so even recording this video, a part of me feels like this is so not structured. Like, I wish I could give you more step-by-step process, but of course that's not how it works, especially not transformational work. And a lot of it will just be transferring information to you while increasing your self-awareness. I mean, that's generally what I do. And so let's go to the exercise to hopefully make this a little bit more clear so that you can see where that shows up for you. And it might be, well, I would say definitely some way of how you communicate. It might be about sharing your expertise, but it could be, how you present your service or product in a conversation. It could be in your marketing material. It could be, yes, how you connect with customers, or if, let's say, if you're a writer, it could even be how what you write in your creative work. Or it could be, when you just downplay your own achievements or something. So I'm sure you have your own moments, where we just don't own our own skills, expertise, knowledge as much as we could, and we share it as freely as we could, which of course is absolute key. People always talk about having an authentic brand or to be relatable, but in a way that's what it is, right? To communicate you, your product, your service, all of it, your brand, and I would just say in a free way, because it feels good to you if you're not self-censoring those things, and of course it feels useful for the other side. And as always, like I said, the only thing I can give you, what you can do, is to reconnect to yourself. It might be through breath. If you have a meditation practice, it can be through that, or mindful movement, or something where you just feel deeper connected with your body, soothing touch. And I know I've shared about these things a lot, so I'm not going to go deep into it in this video. But let's just go with a little bit of few deep breaths and sensing how you feel your body, what you're sitting on, or the soles of your feet if you're walking or something. And just noticing, where's your breath traveling to? Is there tension anywhere that you can release? Doing whatever you need to do to relax and calm down your nervous system and resettle into a calmer space. And one of my teachers always loves to, say maybe you can inhale light, or let your body, your cells light up like little stars, which is, in my language, a version of bringing very deeply aware state, and imagining you really do it with every cell in your body. Can you do that? Can you feel like there's more light, more presence, more of you in all of you, right? So that's what we do. And I'm not going to go super deep. You can do that on your own. And cultivating them, that's of course the key bit, cultivating that all through your day, so that when you speak, you catch yourself quicker when you hold back. And I will do a little bit of a visualization here, just to hopefully shift a few things for you. So that, because I can't, maybe you have a scenario in your head, but the biggest insights will come throughout your day. Again, what the main thing is, to be able to go into a deeply present, relaxed stage as much as you can throughout your day, and you use whatever you need to use for it. And if you don't know what to use for it, please leave a comment. I'll extract more of that. But in energy healing, we sometimes do energy clearings, and what that means is, again, it's a visualization, right? So I could ask you now, for example, to release any of that self-censorship, and you just go with it, and you just pay attention if you notice anything in your body, okay? So you release any ways in which you're not speaking the truth that fits the situation or the moment, because I'm talking in particular right now about work. Again, you could extend that to your private life, but let's stay with the work example. To release any criticism, any judgments, especially from yourself, but you might also have picked them up from other people or society about what you want to share, not being good enough, not being valuable enough, just not being sufficient. Let's also release any previous critique or judgments, rejection from others that you might have picked up, and that maybe your body still holds, and that's why every time you try again, it's oh, it didn't feel good. So can we release that? Can you just imagine again, maybe some light shower or something, releasing and at ease coming through your system? And you're very welcome to move like I do. Sometimes I just notice my body needs to release something, and that can come with movement or sound or shaking or whatever. And can we also shine some light into the depths of you and the depths of your heart, where you still might be holding any ideas of not being good enough, right? And in particular, in this case, not having enough knowledge, expertise, your knowledge not being concrete enough. Maybe you think it needs to be studied knowledge, even though it's learned knowledge, or you have studied knowledge, but you think it needs to be experiential knowledge or practical knowledge, or whatever. Maybe it's from a wrong language, like any ideas of why somehow what you know is not sufficient to be useful, to be relatable, to do what you wanted to do, to connect to others, to share what's important to you. Can we release that too? Just bring some more ease and space. And I particularly seem to feel it in my heart. Maybe that's the same for you. Maybe it sits somewhere else. And let's teach your system, your body-mind system, what it feels like to truly and deeply value your knowledge, your expertise, your skills, value how things make sense to you and how you explain things. And again, if maybe you notice if you can notice anything, how that feels in your body, if you notice a shift by imagining that. And sometimes it helps to imagine, like a new belief or something like I just shared, to just come in maybe through the top of your head or somewhere, literally like having a trickle into your body, like a piece of awareness. So it might come like a light thing, it might come just as a physical sensation, or as you would drop a pebble into a pond, like you just notice a drop and then it ripples out through your system, like the ripples in the water. And let's also bring in a lot of peace around you knowing what you know. And while I say that, it feels like there needs to be another release of trying to fit your knowledge and expertise into existing systems, existing forms or ways of explaining things, ways of making sense to things, or sense of things, or just somehow feeling like you need to contort again your knowledge, your expertise, so that others understand it. And instead, let's bring in trust that your knowledge and expertise and the way, again, it comes through to you, because you might know how to fix a bike and someone might not know how to fix a bike, but maybe you do it slightly differently or with different priorities. And that your way is needed and is like the world would be at a loss if it didn't have your way, that your way is as important as any other way that might be already been talked about. Yeah, that seems to be really important. So can we just drop that in a bit deeper? Or sometimes it helps to imagine a little vortex, just vortexing it through your body. Like your knowledge, your way of explaining, it's not just your knowledge, it's your way, your experiential knowledge of you personally with your experiences. And your way of explaining is as valid, or in fact to you, obviously, it's more valid than any other way. It's the only way that should matter to you. And to increase your ability in your body-mind system to focus on the way that makes sense to you. Because that's, of course, so often the key bit in the world we live in, where knowledge is everywhere. But bringing your angle and your way of explaining things and the way you have experienced it, that's often what, of course, will differentiate you and what will make people listen. But you really have to own it. So can we own and claim that and really bring that sense of oomph, and that's mine, and like really grounding that in and really standing on it and making sure you're proud of having your way of explaining things. Okay, just bring in another shower of light or some just very high vibe energies from the universe, and let them spin through your body. Just have a bit of a reshuffle and reshake and integrate what we already changed. Okay, I keep hearing it again. So giving you the knowledge, so let's download you with the knowledge that you know that you matter, that you're important, and what that feels like again in your body-mind system. Which doesn't mean you can't stay a student for life and learn and improve. But understanding what it feels like to never ever play small because you think you're less than, or you know not enough. Again, giving you the discernment about knowing when, okay, you know, you're in a situation and you really just have no clue and you listen, and that's your place and it's beautiful. Or when you simply hold back, close down, because there's a subconscious belief running that we please release at this point if there should still any be left, that you somehow don't know enough, that you are not enough, that you need to study harder, learn more, that you need another 10 years of experience or whatever it might be until your knowledge and skills and experience is as valid as someone else's, and is, again, especially your way of explaining things. I notice there might be, for some of you, maybe is some sadness or something coming up, which might be, you know, from your past, when that's what you would do. You would just not speak up or not say it fully because maybe you were judged from parents, caregivers, school teachers, whoever. Or especially when we're younger, of course, you know, sometimes it can feel funny to the adults when our young child's brain is just giving a very funny explanation or just with bits of information or whatever. So any past experiences where you feel like you've been shut down unfairly, or just it was just hurtful to you for whichever reason, because you could not comprehend it because you were little, or because someone else just shut you off unelegantly because they didn't have time for you, or whatever it might have been. Can we just release any old hurts and conditioning or beliefs that you have to hold back? That you should say less. That you only should say what's been proven. And that you somehow need to try harder to fit into a system of knowledge or something. Can we just let all of that go? And if you feel like it's not moving, you can even give it a little impulse to be like, please release, or just making sure it's shifting towards the light, or sending a vortex in, or whatever you need to do, moving your body. Okay. Okay, and let's bring in a few more codes about you knowing what it feels like to share your truth, to share what's important to you, to know what it feels like to be valued for what you say and share and contribute, to know what it feels like more than anything to value yourself and to be proud of yourself for everything you know, like you know so much. Can you celebrate yourself for that and be proud of yourself? And to, above everything else, really making sure that you always express yourself fully to satisfy yourself before you even think of anyone or anything or marketing or whatever it might be. Because if you don't express yourself fully, that feels not a good long-term strategy. And to really, 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 it seems to be really important that you claim your space and your place as explaining things in your way and sharing the things that matter to you. That seems to be the core message that I'm getting. Letting go of anything that's not that, and strengthening those parts of you that need to hear that it's time for you to share your point of view, your way of understanding, your experience, your knowledge, your expertise, your ways of doing things, the things that matter to you. Just stay with that for a moment and really, really let that ripple through. It feels like it needs to go back into your heart. And also using a lot of grounding and earth energy to stabilize that in your body and your awareness. And you might feel a release or a yawn or maybe something that makes sure that really goes in. Okay. I think for now that's enough. You might want to re-listen to this, or do a little bit more, I would say meditating more than journaling, but whatever helps you to really deeply integrate this and making sure you have a felt sense, as I said, and not just intellectual knowledge. So I'm gonna stop here and hope you got all the insights and knowledge that you need.